Welcome to Project Quiver, a father-daughter journey across the globe to capture the artistry and spirit of the world's finest traditional bow carvers. I'm Todd, the father. Ella is my daughter. Together we're on a mission to create a stunning coffee table book that profiles more than a dozen master bowyers and their unparalleled skill. For each chapter, we travel to the bowyer's workshop, carve a bow under his guidance, photograph his woodcraft in detail, and share his story here on the Salish Wolf podcast. The book is called Quiver, The Art of Life Through Bowcraft. And this journey, our living story, is Project Quiver.
Yeah, thank you. And it's jungle life, man. It's full of surprises.
Yeah.
How was your visit?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. What a great vacation.
Oh, that's great. That surf that we had, man, it's been huge. It's really been huge and kind of messy. But I've been out the last 2 days, but I didn't surf from when I surfed with you until yesterday because it was and yesterday was kind of gnarly. I wish I hadn't gone, but
yeah, I saw that on the forecast. I was thinking that our timing was perfect.
yeah.
I don't really want to mess with bigger than 6 feet.
Well, I think there were some double overheads coming in on some of those days. There was a big surf competition. Were you here for that? I think it was the Costa Rica Championships.
I think that was Saturday.
Yeah.
Day that we left, Friday or Saturday.
Okay. Yeah. And it was pumping. So
that was a longboard event too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a longboard event? I didn't go see it.
Longboard and stand-up paddleboarding.
Oh, I didn't even go see it. So
that takes some talent to get out there.
Wow, no, I didn't know that. That's right? Nuts. Yeah.
Weeds out the field.
He sure does. Yeah. How are things going?
Things are going good. Just trying to catch up on everything that I got really far behind on when I took a week off of everything. So
yeah. How's the life of a bowyer?
It's good. I can spend a little more time doing it now. Don't have much school this summer, so.
Okay. Is this full time for you?
The
bowyer?
No, I have multiple jobs, kind of by choice.
Okay.
I coach big mountain freeskiing.
Nice.
For the winter time, like high school age kids.
Okay.
And that's another jobby, just like bow making.
Yeah.
And I mean, kind of by choice. I'm not sure I really want to do it much more than 20 hours a week. I feel like it wears a little bit because I'm just in my hermit shack,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think, I could definitely do it. I could definitely have enough work to do it 40 hours a week or probably more if I wanted to, but I need a little bit more variety.
Are you making bows for yourself or clients or a combination?
They're all I've got a big back order for, just whatever bow someone orders. I mean, I make whatever someone wants from, around the world. That's kind of my thing.
And then how do people find you?
Website.
Okay.
Or just by word of mouth, pretty much, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really advertise. I do have Heartwood Bows, .com. Not
Not the South African one. So,
no. Yeah. Luckily, our bows are nothing alike. So
sorry about that confusion.
We're never gonna butt heads there.
Good.
But
it's two bowyers with the same company name, and both of you are in Project Quiver, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So, in what way are your bows not alike? Like, what is your niche?
My niche is to make anything that anyone wants out of. I mostly do replicas. I don't sell that many hunting bows.
Okay.
I've had someone in Germany who's kept me busy for years now, and he basically, he wants a good 100% authentic representation of all these bows from across the Americas.
Really?
So I'm replicating sets out of, whenever I can, the same wood, the exact same wood that was used, same arrow wood. Of course, I don't use bird of prey feathers, but sometimes you can find some funky turkey feathers or, Canadian geese they can look a lot like eagle feathers. But yeah, I'm
So
just
that's
trying to replicate like the best. What would be the best bow of that time,
right.
200 years ago?
So you're making arrows as well. Is that
Yeah.
with the feathers? Okay. And then what does this German guy do with all of these bows?
He's got a massive collection.
Really?
He collects Native American stuff. Yeah.
In Germany?
I don't know. Maybe he's reselling them there, but
Okay.
he's sent me his room, his display room, which is pretty impressive.
If I might talk to you later about getting his contact, because we're definitely going to be traveling through Germany a few times, and all of our bowyers from Germany that we've tried to get have not come through. But we're still moving through that area, so it'd be really cool to go see a collection of bows.
Yeah.
And for you, are you doing just Native American replicas?
No, I do whatever. I mean, I got into the Asiatic horn bows a few years back. Got into that kick for bid. I mean, that's pretty fun too, but they take a couple of years to make. So
Each bow.
yeah.
Why is that?
I mean, I use all natural materials.
Yeah.
And so when you're using, I use the sinew straps to make the glue. And when
Sinews
you're
of what?
What's that?
Sinews of what?
Sinew doesn't really matter. I mostly use elk sinew.
Okay.
And sinew of the deer, elk, cow, if you want it, buffalo leg tendon, or the backstrap tendon.
So you make glue from that?
I do, because that's what's on the back. So just a little more detail.
Yeah.
The core of those bows, it's maybe 3 to 7 pieces spliced, V-spliced wood, maple, birch, whatever else they used at the time, tamarack, or tamarisk, sorry, in China, white mulberry, some like not so prime bow woods, and that's the core. The belly is horn, animal horn, which can withstand like 7 or so times the compression of even the best wood.
Wow.
And then the sinew can handle like 15 times the tension of wood. So you have the Turkish flight bows, like 40 inches or so, that mostly are just bending by the handle, which, at the last flight shoot, we had some of the Northern Europeans out there, and they brought, their masters at this craft, and they were bringing theirs out and shooting, what's Ivor's record? It's, I think over 600 yards with all natural materials.
Really?
Pretty amazing. But it's, so getting back to all the time it takes, when you're using the natural animal glues, they form like ever increasing complex bond over time. And since you use heat to tiller these bows, because when they dry up into a reflex that can sometimes touch the tips. So you have to use heat to get some of that out. And the glue hasn't formed enough of a bond to hold on when you have to heat it up to a certain temperature, to where it wouldn't slip, where the parts wouldn't slip apart. So you got to give it at least like 6 months or so before you can take heat to manipulate the bend.
What kind of horn are you using?
Water buffalo is the best.
Okay.
But
and is that like 2 pieces connected together, or are you splicing a bunch of pieces? How's it work?
No, they're quite long. It's one spliced in the middle.
Okay.
And then the back is multiple layers of sinew.
That's so cool.
So yeah.
How did you get into that?
It's just a different kind of bow.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of that technology has been around for more than a couple thousand years. The Scythians, were some of the first there. They built theirs differently with the horns sideways. So this is the front of the bow. It's going down the middle instead of on the facing side.
Okay.
So really unique construction, but there's written language over there. So they've been perfecting that for thousands of years.
Wow.
Asia, Eastern Europe, wherever those were built.
And were those used for war or for other purposes?
Yes, war until they weren't as useful with the better firearms.
Okay.
And then they were used for sport. But they still had, they had the similar draw to English longbows. They were also upwards of 100 pounds,
Wow.
but much shorter. They're around 50 or so inches.
And what are the strings made of?
The strings, depending on where you were, sinew, silk. I'm not sure what else. I know there's old existing silk ones from some of the oldest ones. I know sinew was used, and I'm not sure what else. Top of my head right now, so
okay,
I have to look it up.
My first bow, which I still have, English longbow, has water buffalo tips on it, but a U bow. And I used to have a phobia of water buffaloes when I was like 20-ish, traveling in India. I was in Varanasi, walking along the Ghats, along the river, and one of them charged me and actually made full contact. But unfortunately, his handler was there at kind of the same time that it made contact with me and pulled it off. I was like, what the fuck just happened? I remember I was running away because I'm like, there's a buffalo charging at me, but I wasn't really sprinting because I was just in disbelief. I'm like, there's no way this thing is actually charging at me. And sure enough, I turn around and it's right on me and bam, right in the backside.
Wow. That's a reasonable phobia, I would say.
So anyway, that's my only experience really with the water buffalo.
Right.
And then the replicas that you make of North American bows, those are all wood, or do they use other materials?
Wood and sinew.
Okay.
And some of the bows that people ask me to make the most, which it's not my favorite, are bighorn sheep bows.
Okay.
Native Americans in the Great Basin, Columbia Plateau, and the Plains area, they all used both elk antler, possibly caribou, and bighorn sheep horns.
For the actual limbs of the bow again?
For the limbs of the bow, yes.
Okay.
Some of the horns were big enough to where it would be a single piece, and some of those bows were as small as 30 inches long. They're horseback bows.
Okay.
And they don't work without sinew. So they need sometimes 50% of the whole mass of the bow is sinew.
And why don't you like working with a bighorn sheep?
Well, I think I've taken roughly like 40 old bighorn sheep mounts off the market. I used to get them for $300 or so, and now they're almost impossible to find for under $1,000 or $1,200.
Wow.
I've started using other sheep horn, experimenting with those, and so far they seem to work. But it's the same thing. You got to wait it out until you can manipulate the band. So this is sheep. It's just a single handle splice.
Oh, wow.
You can't see it, so I won't do much of this for the podcast. But
does it matter what the original shape of the horn is?
Yeah, it does have a memory.
Okay.
And you can heat it, you can boil it out, but boiling it for more than 10 minutes will start to take out, it'll start to weaken the horn. It'll make some glue, especially with antler. Antlers, boiling that will make a weak glue.
Yeah.
Whereas, keratin, bighorn sheep is just keratin, it's fingernails, whatever. So it will weaken it after a while. You can boil it for a little bit longer, but I don't like to go more than 10 minutes. And then strap it to something and let it dry out. And some of that curve will come back. Bighorn sheep are pretty straight. So you can cut once leave it as wide as possible. Once the twist comes back, you can just carve that out and still have a straight piece. A straight enough piece long enough to splice in the handle.
Interesting. And that glue that you're talking about. So in Chinese medicine, antler glue is actually a medicine from different things.
Now, is it the antler? Is it the felt? The antler felt?
Sorry, I made an animal noise there. It's been too long since I've studied it, and I've
Yeah.
never used it. I've never actually used it. My belief is it is antler horn. I'll look that
Mhm.
up. But they use all kinds of things, including flying squirrel feces. So that's
Yep.
an interesting one.
That is interesting. Yeah, and I mean the other ones, but mostly sinew-backed wood is what I use.
Yeah. Okay.
And
yeah.
then
Deer antler base. Lu Jiao Pan.
Yeah.
It's for kidney nourishing and strengthens the bones and muscles.
Hmm.
But there's a number of things that are used that probably shouldn't be used, and that's a whole nother topic. But anyway, back to bowyers.
if you believe in it, it works, right?
Yeah. How did you get into the replicas? Like, what sparked your interest in that? Because you're exact with those, right? You're not just taking influence and then creating your own stuff. You're doing some exact replicas. I guess that's what a replica is.
Yeah, for flight archery, we can get into that later, but those are slightly modified replicas.
Okay.
But for the replicas, it's just I love history, and I grew up in Colorado and I've lived in Utah and California, and everywhere I've been, I've just kind of wanted to replicate those. I mean, I made bent sticks as a little kid, and then got into junior Olympic archery when I was about 12, which was a good bonding time with my dad, who didn't have much time. I think that's what really got me into archery. And then I kind of lost interest in the whole target shooting and just wanted to make my own as a teenager, I guess. Yeah. I think I tried to make my first sinew-backed bow at 14.
Wow.
Right. And it kind of worked because it was sinew-backed. If it was just wood, it wouldn't have worked at all. So.
And was that sinew from an animal you had killed?
I bought it at an Indian trading post in Denver.
Huh.
So yeah, it was store-bought.
So 14, like, when did you actually develop your interest in, archery? I understand. My son was doing archery when he was like 5, and he was interested in bow carving, but he still at 12 hasn't taken on the endeavor of carving anything overly complex. Like, how did you get into, or what was the interest? Where did it come from beyond your dad? Or was it just your dad?
Yeah, my dad would just go shooting. He'd just take me shooting.
Okay.
And then, when I wanted to make bows, he'd take me to the hardwood store, and we didn't have all the information back then. This is late 80s, I guess. So I just used the right wood, the wrong pieces, no grain following or anything like that, just trying to make the perfect shape and having it explode and getting extremely discouraged, and eventually figuring out the right way with some research.
But why? Why make your own at that stage?
I'm not sure. It's easy to explain, but I think a lot of people that are listening to this will understand that it's just something that you feel like you really want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something to it.
I think anyone who's carved a bow probably can understand that. Anyone who successfully has carved one.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of those blowouts and frustrations, those occur.
Yeah.
Sure. So what are some of for the historical replicas, where are you getting your information? Just all over the place?
Wherever I can.
Okay.
I've combed through everything I can possibly get my hands on.
And are there museums in the US with some replicas or some originals?
Originals, yeah. So you can get the measurements and you can guesstimate the wood.
Okay.
What it is. Some wood's easier to pick out than other. Oak is pretty easy to pick out.
Yeah.
Conifers are pretty easy, but I'm not sure if it's a juniper or yew or it's hickory. Hickory can be deceptive, I think.
In what way?
I think that like new hickory boards are kind of easy to pick out what kind of wood it is. But I think as they age, when they're that old, I think ash and hickory look pretty similar.
Got it.
So that's also a guess, I think, with a lot of those bows.
And do you run into that even in selecting your wood for carving, like the identification sometimes is a challenge, or is this just seeing some of those original bows and not being sure what kind of wood they are?
Well, I mean, it was documented by historians what kind of wood they used, and that was in that area. There's been some mistakes that I've noticed that maybe when they talk about lodgepole pine, they might mean juniper, which grows in the same area.
Okay.
Other little mistakes that uh, historians wrote about way back, well over 100 years ago when they were studying. It's yeah, just what's documented that they used, or just what's there. If it's unsure, what's growing in that area, what's native to that area.
Do you have a wood that's your favorite to work with?
Yep.
What is it?
Juniper,
Okay.
which
Juniper.
it
Yeah.
needs to be backed with sinew.
And is that also called Eastern cedar?
Yep, Eastern red cedar is Juniperus virginius,
Okay.
and that's that is a juniper.
It has to be backed with sinew?
It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But
Sorry, I thought you said that.
I think it does. I don't make them unbacked. You can shoot them for a while, but if they dry out too much, they'll explode.
Oh.
They are one of the best compression woods in the world, pretty much. But they're
Really?
very weak in tension. So with a backing to take up all that tension, it's an extremely lightweight wood too. So it's very efficient. It's what I use for my most successful flight bows, that and hickory. So the physical weight is very light. You kind of concentrate the sinew to the middle of the back, most of it. Because of how light it is, as the sinew dries, it takes on a tremendous amount of reflex, and just makes a extremely fast and efficient bow. See why it was used so much. And then I would say the other one is incense cedar, which was used by pretty much only documented by the Miwok Indians of California, and Ishii mentioned it, also another California native that almost all bowyers know about. And it's pretty similar to juniper. I think the trunks can be quite weak, so I look for branches of those. So it's a lot heavier, and also an incredible compression wood.
Incense cedar.
Terrible tension wood. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not related to any other cedar.
Is it actually a cedar, or that's just the name?
It is a cedar.
Okay.
But the only other cedars of its kind are they grow in, like, I think Southeast Asia and somewhere in Europe.
Okay.
It's what is that one? Calycindris decurrens
Okay.
is the Latin name, if I'm not butchering that.
But in general, I guess the Eastern cedar and then the incense cedar, but in general, cedars aren't very good bow woods, are they? Like the red cedar and yellow cedar of the Northwest?
Yeah, Eastern red cedar is just not a cedar either. It's just a juniper. And in Utah, people call juniper cedar also.
Okay. Oh,
I've had that argument with people. When I say I use incense cedar, they say, no, you're using juniper. Like, no, this one is a cedar. It's just not like the other cedars.
So juniper's not an actual cedar?
Juniper's not a cedar. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And,
so like Pacific red and yellow cedars can't be used, can they?
If you make them wide and long enough, you can make a bow out of them. You can make a bow out of anything, right?
Okay.
And it's the same with other. I really get into different kinds of wood used by the natives, because I'm making a Mojave set right now too, and there wasn't there in southern Arizona, far like southeastern California, not much grows there, but mesquite is there, which is not a terrible bow wood, but they preferred willow. And then that's actually doing a little research on that. It's desert willow, and it's not a true willow. It's in the catalpa family, and so they preferred it over mesquite. And I'm pretty sure I found a piece of that, so I'm going to try that out with the Mojave set that I'm making for this this guy in Germany also.
How do you know which way to shape a bow? Is that just from years and years of experience, like flat bow versus a D-section bow versus whatever? I don't know. I don't know enough of them. So
Yeah, I mean, for the replicas, I'm making whatever they used. A lot of
right.
the
Okay.
sinew bows are lenticular. So that,
And what does that mean?
What's that?
What does lenticular mean? In a
Like
bow?
an oval. So
Okay.
more crowned on the back and belly. And if it's sinew-backed, the crown back doesn't matter at all because, like I said, sinew takes up all the tension that you could ever,
Right.
worry about. But then on the belly, when it's rounded on the belly, most of the work is being done by the lowest part of the belly, the center of the belly. It's not
Okay.
evenly distributed like a flat bow. So it has to put up with a little bit more work when it's round instead of flat.
Okay.
And it's like a lot of most hardwoods are stronger in tension than compression. And so a rounded back on those is fine, from what I've heard. Besides
Okay.
cherry. Cherry's not.
So I have you, I've written down that we're making, when I'm there, an Ishii style sinew-backed juniper bow.
Right.
What is that? I mean, you've kind of just explained a bit of it, but what's
Yeah.
unique about that one?
It's not much unique about it. It's just a perfect design. It's pretty similar to, I mean, the true Holmegard bows, were they had a narrowed handle and then widest just above the handle, and just basic pyramid to really narrow tips.
Okay.
And Ishii's were like that. His tips weren't as narrow as the ones. I make some exact replicas of that, but the ones, my favorite flight shooting bows are near replicas of his with narrowed tips for less mass, for a faster delivery to the arrow. But it's juniper was his preferred. He also used yew and incense cedar, like I say. And it's just what I described with the wood, but the sinew layers are put on 1 week apart. And if you want a little bit more out of it, you can string the bow backwards and then also let the sinew, add 3 or so layers.
Okay.
3 weeks apart. And each layer will draw the bow further and further up into more of a reflex.
Right. How do we do that in the amount of time that we have?
I've already started on one, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair
and
enough.
then we can start on a new one to get the general shape and everything.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And who's this Ishii guy? I've never heard of him.
He was the last wild Indian in California. He's still living, hiding from everyone until the 20s, I believe, when he was discovered, whatever that means.
The 1920s?
Yeah, 1920s.
Okay.
And then he was taken to the Berkeley Museum and studied. Basically became a sideshow there. He'd make all of he'd chip points and make arrows and shoot them and make all his basketry, and he just became a study. And he was what was it? That was the Howard Hill days back then, right? I've got the names right.
I don't know.
Yeah, he speaks of them too. Yeah, just
okay. So is a lot of our information from historical bows of that time come from him?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually working historical bows it's still being made.
Right.
Because they kind of went to the wayside as the firearms got better and better. And then in California, the gold mining boom, that was one of the worst atrocities as far as the treatment of Native Americans goes. I think that might take the cake, the California eradication of everyone there. And, it's very lucky previous people that went there, there's I mean, I didn't know about this until 5 or 10 years ago. There was a big Russian settlement in up and down the west coast, initially for otter, and then they've set up military bases in around the Bay Area, and they eventually abandoned it. But that was between 1800 and 1840, they had collected hundreds of bows and arrows, and also documented like what was going on there. So it's a real look at absolute peak of that technology. I would say 1800 is before most of the disease and everything got at least to California. It's when they had been making their bows for 1500 years or so, and had just perfected this. And you can see it, and a lot of them are in Russia. Have someone that I've worked with out in California who's gone to see all of them, and there's still quite a few of these, mostly Miwok Indian bows around.
Is there a museum in Russia or
Mhm,
multiple
yeah.
ones?
Yeah, I don't want to try to pronounce the name of that museum
Yeah.
right now, but they're still there. And there's
Okay.
a historian, Craig Bates, and he went out there with some other scholars to study everything that was out there, everything they could do
Is
in the
this
time that they had.
one museum with hundreds of bows?
Yeah, there's
Oh,
others distributed in certain places in Europe, and then there's quite a few Miwok bows in the Smithsonian and spread here and there.
okay. I need to find more out about these things.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I've worked with a nonprofit. It's the Miwok Indian Heritage Foundation. A guy named Glenn Vila. It's his nonprofit, and I go out there every year to just try to teach back to the Miwok people, or whatever surrounding tribes want to come for the presentation. Just trying to return that information to them, because as far as documented Native American bows and arrows, there's more written and more examples of those than anything else, any other peoples in the Americas,
Hmm.
including they had a form of flight shooting and the distances that they made. And so I've been working on a slightly modified incense cedar juniper Miwok bow that I can hopefully shoot over 350 yards
Wow.
with their equipment. So
And you said they've been making these for 1500 years, but how long have bows in North America that we know of been made?
it's up for a little bit of debate there. Some people claim that as early as 100 AD, but it's hard to find anything more than something that looks more like a bow drill. And it's generally accepted that they're pretty much from coast to coast by 500 AD.
Okay.
And before that, maybe here and there, but they hadn't. I mean, the theory, I think, is they hadn't made them good enough to replace the atlatl, and they hadn't had use for them except for maybe shooting small game rodents. And then they finally started making more powerful bows, and then just became widespread. It's really hasn't been around for very long. When you think about how long they've been in Europe. And I heard your podcast with Waylon Olive.
Oh yeah. Wow, that was quick. I think it was just published yesterday.
Yeah. And you were talking about olive bows, which is
Yeah.
a couple of those are some of the earliest bows.
Really?
Yeah, they found one in Spain and Israel.
No way.
Yeah, like 6,000 and 7,000 years old. So
Wow.
yeah, and then with the New World, besides Alaska, I guess, in far northern Canada, apparently bow and arrow technology existed there thousands of years ago. I can't remember the exact numbers, but
In the Arctic?
in the Arctic,
Okay.
and their theory was that it's such a harsh terrain that maybe they had a bad spell, which completely annihilated like all of that technology altogether.
Wow.
Took down entire villages, and then it returned there a couple thousand years later or so, and it was not in between.
Hmm.
So I don't think that really counts, but that
Yeah.
is.
And then where is the oldest evidence? Is that in Europe, Asia? I'm just guessing.
Yeah, what is the oldest bow? Of
So,
the old Homegard bows, the $7,000 or so sorry, 7,000
might
year
be.
Spanish bow is quite old.
Okay.
I'd have to look up the oldest bow in
Yeah.
the world.
I think it's in France. There are cave paintings with archers on those that are dated like 8,000+ years ago.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. And like the technology really hasn't changed that much, has it? Like what you're doing is carving bows the way they've been carved for hundreds and potentially like with a home guard bow, thousands of years.
Yeah, and the Homegard bow is another one. That's a contestant for a flight shooting bow. They're so extremely efficient. It's perfect.
Is
Concentrate
that,
most of the bending near the handle, where
yeah.
it's the widest, and then tapers to extremely narrow tips. So there's no drag on the tips, nothing to slow anything down when the string is released.
And that's
And,
from Northern Europe?
yeah.
Anywhere in particular?
Um,
Or it's too hard to say, I guess, probably.
is it
So,
Denmark?
sounds like a Danish. I
It's
think it's a Danish name,
yeah. I mean, I
but
don't want
of
people
course
to
it's
hold me to anything that I might be butchering. Amateur hour here, but I think Denmark was where the
okay.
first Homegard bows were found.
And what kind of wood for those?
They were elm,
Okay.
and then yew didn't spread up there till just a couple thousand years ago, I guess. And it was planted up there and used for bows, but it didn't exist. And elm was the wood that was used for that.
Right. So did the uses of bows in part determine the shape and size, or was it more the wood that determined the shape and size, or a
I think it's
combination?
absolutely the uses.
Okay.
Um, and there's been people point out that the horse bows on the plains were very short for handling on horseback, but
Yeah, it makes sense.
then you go further to the west and they're just as short. I think
Okay.
it's
And
just easy.
it wasn't mounted archery for those.
No, there's no method
No.
archery there. Just ease of travel.
Yeah.
And then just the way they developed their archery and shooting. I think, a 20-inch draw, 22-inch draw with the amount of skill that someone develops when they start shooting those bows before they can walk,
Wow.
and then, they actually are in the wild. So most people can't fathom, that they had no problem getting 5 or 10 yards away from any kind of deer to shoot with what they knew about, where they passed and everything.
So you think it was mostly the use that determined the shape and style?
I mean, I just second guess myself with what I said. I think there's plenty of wood and staves long enough for
Yeah.
bigger bows. It can't really be an argument. I'm not really sure why they chose most of the West chose the shorter bows, whereas of course the East Coast of the United States, of the Americas, they had longer bows. But
And why is that? Don't know.
I can't tell you. They
Putting
did
you on the
have
spot.
quite a variety of hardwood.
Right. And so then like the English longbow, very different from a flat bow. Why did that shape come about with English yew? Was that partly because of the tree or?
With English yew, I actually heard it mentioned one time that it was so they could get as many bows as they could out of the wood that they had.
Okay.
Which is why their English longbows are fairly narrow. So
Okay.
you can cut, you want to get as many staves as you can out of something that's still, it's long enough and powerful enough. There was the perfect weapon right there. I know you're a big fan of those, and I don't know if you've ever seen the footage of comparing those with, the 50 to 100 hours of time on the Asiatic horn bows, comparing the shooting. Of course,
No.
the horn bows are lighter The English bows are huge, and they both shoot almost the same.
Really?
Yeah.
And so back with you were talking about the flight shooting. Are there categories for different types of bows, different lengths of bows?
Yep.
Or is it? Yeah. Okay.
There's plenty of categories. You can go there with a crossbow or a compound, but
Okay.
then they have a primitive class too, which is
But does the primitive class get broken down into different styles?
Yep. There's just a self bow, just one piece of wood. There's simple composite, which is either two materials or, it could be just a sinew-backed wood. And then a complex composite, which is as many materials as you want to put in there. But they also made with all natural materials. The string has to be natural material. Nothing synthetic. The arrows are, of course, all wood. You can use homemade paper if you want for the feathers. Some people do. Or just very much cut down feathers, but it's 100% natural materials for all those categories.
Okay. What kind of string material do you use when you make string?
I used to go out there with sinew and couldn't quite, contend. And pretty much everybody uses linen for their primitive strings. It's got the least amount of stretch. They break a lot for how small you need to make the string. So if you don't have a durable bow, you could get an explosion after you release your arrow. But
explosion of the string or the bow?
Both.
Huh.
So if you have a bow, if I'm using a juniper bow with 10 inches of reflex when it's unstrung, and I'm releasing a 180 grain arrow, and the string breaks as soon as it returns to the strung position. Depending on how easily it breaks, all that power is just delivered straight into the reflex. So the bow can just fold.
So how is it through the marvels of physics that you can shoot? I think we were talking about this when you were here and we were shooting. As long as you have an arrow in the bow, you can shoot it and all of the force goes into the arrow. But if you don't have the arrow, all of the force basically goes back into the bow. So how is it what is that? And how small of a thing could you shoot? How small or light of an arrow could you shoot and still have it receive all of the force? I'm fascinated by it because I always explain to people when I'm teaching, I don't dry fire, but I don't fully understand how that arrow can be the recipient of 100 pounds of force on a bow.
Yeah. That's the whole thing with flight, is seeing what you can get away with dry fire speed. And I don't think there is anything light enough that won't take that.
Really?
I've never seen a bow explode that's even shooting a 150 grain arrow. Without a string breaking or something going wrong. Yeah.
But if you did that same thing without an arrow, there's a good chance the bow would explode.
Yeah. So
and how much? What's a 150 grain arrow weigh? Approximately.
Let's see. I translate that.
I can look it up too.
Yeah.
150 grain. And what does that mean?
A grain?
The grain, yeah.
It's just a unit of measurement, like a carat, a grain, gram, and it's 20. Let's see.
I'm not finding anything helpful.
Okay. Yeah. Grain is 15.4, so we can edit this part out, right?
Oh, we can do whatever. I can, yeah. So the 150 grains are referring to the weight of the components that are attached to the front of the arrow shaft, such as the insert that holds the broadhead or the broadhead itself. So is that that's more the arrow tip determines than the grains are a unit of weight commonly used in archery. Total arrow weight, including shaft, fletching, and all front end components, is typically between 400 and 500 grains for many bows.
Right.
Okay. So typical arrow is 500 grains. So this is quite light.
Yeah, a grain is like 15.5 or gram is 15.5 grains, I think.
Okay, so this is basically 10 grams.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's light.
extremely
That's
light.
yeah, that's crazy, and that is somehow through physics enough to receive all of that force and direct it away from the bow.
It is. And then if you see the super slow motion video of a flight arrow being released, some of these may be like a 35-pound spine just in the middle because they're all barreled, of course, being shot out of maybe a 70-pound bow. And so the hysteresis and everything, like after it leaves the bow, it just wobbles like crazy.
Right.
And if you have the arrow tuned in correctly, it will straighten out and fly extremely far. If you try to take it too far, I had one time I couldn't find my last arrow anywhere. I thought, maybe it was my best shot ever, but I knew that there was limits on how far it would be. And turning around and coming back, it was about 40 yards from where I released the arrow, facing in my direction. So
What?
it whipped around so much, it turned around in the air and came back like a boomerang.
How?
Yeah.
Do you know how?
With how much how poorly tuned it was for the bow. I think
And
I
was
was
it just
shooting like a 68-pound bow, and this should have been shot with a less than 50-pound bow.
was this lying there, or was it stuck in the ground?
I was stuck in the ground.
Really?
Looked like someone had been shooting from the other side at us.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. And now there's one more category too. It's much more practical. There's a broadhead category, and all the arrows have to be at least 150 grains, and they all have to have like 5/6 of an inch, like basically an inch wide broadhead on the front, to be
Wow.
legal.
Okay.
And that tests really, the practicality of like how good of a hunting bow it is. I think it's a
Okay.
better test for most people because nobody's there's just a small little group of us flight shooting nerds out there. Nobody really cares about that except for flight shooters, but they do care about being able to shoot, being able to get a record
Yeah.
with an actual hunting arrow because that's showing that it's a good bow.
Right.
And with the two records I have it one with a 68-pound hickory bow,
Okay.
and the other with a 70-pound juniper bow, or roughly the same. And they have both the flight and broadhead records for that under 70-pound
How far?
and simple composite. Let me get this right. I might ask me this, so I've got to look it up.
And I understand that it is kind of a niche thing, and yet I can't tell you how many people I teach archery ask this question. How far can you shoot one of these things? People always want to know.
Right. Yeah, no, for regular flight, it's close to 370 yards. And for let's see. Could have been a little more organized here.
That's all right. I'll edit it
I'll
out.
hide somewhere else aside. Basically around 250 yards roughly.
Okay.
Which is pretty good for something with a big sail on the front.
Right. And then you said 600 yards for the horn bows. Is that like the distance record for shooting an arrow?
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. And those guys, this crew of Northern Europeans that come out for that I was talking about. That's all they do. They do flight and they travel the world for it.
Really? And you guys do this on the salt flats?
Yep. It's convenient for me.
Yeah, it is.
It's a less than 2-hour drives. Yeah. Wow. 274 yards for the broadhead.
Okay. So what would, back to the English longbow, I guess it is one of my favorites. How far could they shoot one of those things back in the day, or can we still shoot them?
If you've got a second, I'll tell you that right now. because those are on here for the record too.
All right.
English longbow, and they do have to abide by all the true longbow standards
Okay.
as far as shape and everything. Here's one, Josef, a Hungarian, and this is for flight, and it's unlimited. So this was probably upwards of 100 pounds. He was 451 yards with a
Wow.
regular flight arrow. And let me see if I can find.
Crazy.
Yeah, there are a few categories here.
So where was the British? Like, were there archers shooting that far at their enemies, like 400 plus yards, or is this just
Absolutely not. They had
no?
big, heavy arrows with the tiny little bodkin points.
Okay.
These are, I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Native Americans, I think they had some powerful buffalo bows, but they didn't have any reason to make a bow over 50 pounds for what they were doing. So we didn't have armor over here.
Right.
And there are some examples, of like slatted wood armor, Northern California. But I mean, all the, throughout Asia and throughout Europe, all those upwards of 100-pound bows with the tiny little arrows, they were just meant to penetrate
Okay.
heavy armor.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm sure under 200 yards there, even with 100+ pound bows.
Got it.
It was just about delivering just serious force there with a heavy arrow. The heavier the arrow, the more penetration it's delivering.
Okay. Hey, check your that paper is making a lot of noise on the coming through.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah. Anyways, you can look up the English longbow,
Cool.
Broadhead records, but.
And so, like the flight shooting, that's just something that because it's so close to you geographically, you got into, or was there something else that got you into it?
Yeah, and certain people that through the online forums.
Yeah.
Let's say Steve Gardner got me into it a bit. He's one of my favorite bowers. He wrote what is it, the Mass Principle and Traditional Bowers Bible 4, which is just, I mean, do you know about that?
I don't have number 4. No, I have.
It just goes to
2.
explain, you're making with different weight of bows, you adjust exactly, the shape of the bow to get the same performance out of the bow. So if you're using a poplar, a weak poplar wood or something, or tulip, I guess it is, it's going to be really wide. And then as you go all the way up Osage and then Ipe, you make a similar bow out of Ipe wood. It's extremely narrow, and they all weigh about the same.
Can you make a self bow out of Ipe?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only made like big, huge round ones for replicas, but yeah, Ipe is very heavy, and I would think it'd be okay where you are.
Yeah,
the biggest fear is it drying out here.
How do you have you said a big, thick one. How do you do a big, thick Ipe? Isn't that really heavy?
It is really heavy.
And does it shoot?
Yeah, I mean, it was over 80.
Or does it just look pretty?
Yeah. Well over 80 pounds with some serious hand shock. And, it looks a lot like an English longbow.
Okay. So Ipe is not ideal then for making.
It's not, no.
No.
Just replicating like a rainforest bow for someone.
Right. I've been having a lot of challenges finding like original bow woods and materials from Central America. Yeah.
I imagine there's a lot of really fast growing trees that don't seem like they'd be very good.
Yeah. And from what I've seen, black palm was used a lot, but being a grass, they just didn't last the test of time. So,
yeah, I've got a black palm bow here, a Shipibu bow. My sister picked it up down in South America.
Okay.
But yeah, you could get a good bow out of those, and I think it'd be cool because it's building from what you're given in your location.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. with the ipe and of course bamboo here, I know you can make some pretty good bow combinations with ipe and bamboo, but
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm trying to find just some wood. Well, actually, what's down here, and not here in abundance, but in Nicaragua, is lemon wood.
Yeah.
It's the
Oh,
national tree in Nicaragua.
right. You probably can't cut it too, right?
No, it's protected there, and I don't know where to find it in Costa Rica.
It's protected
Uh,
because we almost eradicated all the lemonwood trees because it became like a popular bow wood back in the
really?
early 1900s, I think.
So
Maybe before that.
when you say
Yeah.
we, like in the States?
Yep. States and
Really?
Europe, and yeah,
Because
lemonwood became like the main bow wood for a while.
I know that happened with yew wood. I didn't know that happened with lemon wood.
Yeah. Just to show how popular archery is.
Do you have any lemon wood bows?
I don't.
Have you ever worked with it?
No.
Okay. And here it goes by a bunch of different names like Dagoma and Saloma, and I ask people about it, and most people, I just get blank stares.
Right.
When I go like to I don't have many options, so I'll go to like lumber yards and find out what they have, and that's typically, well, I've never come across that. So
Yeah. What are the trees called with all the little thorns?
those are the pechote,
How's
and
that wood?
I don't know,
It's too hard to
honestly.
get close to.
No, you can, but and then there's another tree called ceiba,
Mhm.
which crosses with a pechote. So that's a ceiba pechote. Also has the thorns, but the true pechotes, like those spikes are insane.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's ever used as a lumber wood or a building wood of any type. I just haven't explored enough of the woods here.
Yeah.
But most people just use teak or our provincial tree Guanacaste, which is supposed to be protected, but
Mhm.
seems to be a very loose protection.
Right.
And I think maybe Guanacaste could work for a bow, but I haven't tried that either. So
Right.
after the Project Quiver journey, when I get some experience carving bows with you and the other greatest in the world, hopefully then I'll be savvy enough to try some of these woods, because right now I would just butcher them. So
Yeah.
I'm yeah, I don't have that level of confidence where I can take a tree from the jungle and figure out what shape and size and whatnot. So,
Right.
but soon.
It's a lot of fun to make the lesser respected wood bows. As
Yeah.
long as the piece of wood is perfect, I would say.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna, because I want to start teaching. Eventually, I would like to do some just small bow carving workshops. A lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Seems
I
like
teach
that's
the archery, and then a lot of people are like, "Can I make a bow? Can I make a bow?" I'm like, "Yeah, eventually."
yeah.
But I want to do it so it's using local resources here, finding local wood.
Yeah.
So I'll have to play around with that and see what I can find.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you teach at all, or are you mostly just carving bows for clients?
No, I've never done a class. I've been asked by it or asked
Okay.
about it a few times.
Yeah.
I've never put it together.
Yeah.
It's just kind of thing. I mean, I guess I should be a little more open to it, but like I say, I like to switch it up a little bit with things I do, just so I don't ever get tired of this.
Right.
I love going out to the shop. After I haven't been able to do anything for a couple days and just fully immersing in it. I love it. And then, but if I'm doing that Monday through Friday, uh, it just doesn't seem right to me. I think
Yeah, and
I'd
it's
get
so
pretty old.
immersive.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids always, whenever we go back to our farm in British Columbia, it's like, "All right, Dad," we arrive, and they're like, "We'll see you in 2 weeks," or however long we're there. Because I literally go to the barn and I carve from light daylight. Well, actually, I go out way before daylight and just start carving, and I don't come in until way after dark. And it's just like I'm just fascinated by it.
Yeah, but you've got all that pent up in you from being down in a
Yeah, I guess I
tropical
don't.
paradise and not being able to do it for so long. I mean, yeah, if I
Well,
like,
I'm very new to it as well, so it's still
yeah.
all fascinating.
Oh yeah, I'm still very into it. I just
Yeah.
I think it's more the whole hermit aspect of the thing. I
Mm,
sit out there and listen to podcasts and music all day and just getting very little social interaction through
yeah.
work. I mean, that's why I went back to school. Just to do something different later in life. And
What are you doing in school?
um, radiology tech, X-ray tech.
Really?
Yeah, it's very different. And
Yeah,
I
it
know
is.
I'm 50 right now, but I don't know. I just kind of got that idea in my head and then signed up for a class and just started going. I haven't been to school in 32 years, so
Wow.
you don't get any better at algebra if you weren't very good at algebra in high school, and you have to take a statistics class 32 years later. You don't all of a sudden pick up that because it's practical information you use every day. But I
Exactly.
just worked a lot harder. It took up a lot of time.
How far into that are you?
Not very far.
No.
I've got 2 more semesters of biology and anatomy classes, and then I can actually sign up for the 2-year program. So,
Wow. It's a long
and
haul.
with 2 kids and 2 part-time jobs, 2 kids 50% of the time and 2 part-time jobs. It's I had to take my time with this
Yeah.
if I can make it through it.
Damn. You're going to be x-raying bows, aren't you? You're going to be putting the wood through the... Can you see anything with the x-ray of wood?
Yeah. The interesting ones with nails driven through them.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Because I was delayed getting on here, I'm going to have to get off because I have a client very soon.
Yeah.
But I'm there in Salt Lake in, I don't know, a couple weeks, 3 weeks maybe.
Yep.
Really looking forward to that. And I'll have 2 bows under my wings when I come to see you, because both Corey and Waylon, whose podcasts are both out.
Yeah.
I'll be seeing them first and then coming to you. Really excited.
Yep. So am I.
Thanks, dude.
I'm trying to finish the downstairs bathroom before you guys get here.
Don't worry about us, man. Can you tell the listeners where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, it's heartwoodbows.com. I don't really
Simple
do
as that.
much. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really do much on Instagram or Facebook or anything. I have time to build, but I don't have time to update much stuff. So
Right. Oh, and actually, can you tell me how to pronounce your last name? Because I've mentioned it in the last 2 podcasts and I probably butchered it.
it's all right. It's Loeffler.
Loeffler. Okay.
It's spelled Loeffler. So everyone calls me Loeffler, and I don't get offended at all. So
What's the origin of that?
it's German.
Okay.
So it's
And is it like La Fleur? Is it the flower?
No, that's French.
Yeah, well, I know that, but is this like some version of that?
Yeah. Loeffler is the spoon.
A spoon.
Yeah.
Called wooden spoon.
Yeah.
Do you ever carve wooden spoons?
Some Smith name or something.
Yeah. Have you ever carved wooden spoons?
I don't think I ever have carved a wooden spoon.
It's in your DNA, man. You should give it a try.
I used a flat piece of wood when I'm camping before because I don't have anything to eat with. But that's about the closest I've come to carving a spoon.
Huh. All right. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Project Quiver on Salish Wolf. Follow our journey on Instagram at Project Quiver as we seek out the world's most extraordinary traditional bowyers, and join our newsletter at projectquiver.com. Our coffee table book, Quiver, The Art of Life Through Bowcraft, arrives in 2026. We are honored to share with you the beauty, history, and magic of traditional archery.